Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, a weekly program where we catch up with the headlines of the previous week. This week we are looking at the news which made the headlines from 28th September to 4th October. To discuss these headlines, I have with me the group editor of Herald publication, Mr. Sujay Gupta. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This week we look at the major headlines of the past week, which include the question mark on the regional plan, black cocaine and the drug menace which is haunting Goa, the CM's insistence on app-based taxis, and the status of the SIT Commission. Now, to begin with, we look at the headlines on 28th September, where the Goa Bachao Abhiyan has suggested that we prepare a new regional plan in real earnest, a new regional plan with new perspectives. And also, we have the 92-year-old hero of the People's Regional Plan, Mr. Edgar Ribeiro. He is back to give one last shot at repairing Goa's planning. And he has insisted that we update the regional plan because we are already way behind, and it has to include the years up to at least 2031, for which we should plan. And he also suggested that instead of a top-down approach, we ask the Gram Sabhas and the stakeholders to incorporate local area plans.
See, the irony is that we are reinventing the wheel again, but unfortunately we have to do it because the same exercise and the same thought that was basically put forward by right-thinking people like Edgar Ribeiro, the Goa Bachao Abhiyan, Sabrina Martins and the others, and so many other people, in the GBA, environmentalists, lawyers, activists, all of them got together across villages. And they started this very nice initiative and very important initiative of this bottom-up approach, where village-level plans would ultimately dictate, plans at the taluka level, and then at the district level, and then at the state level.
Yeah.
What has happened is that our entire planning process has got completely jeopardized in the last decade or so because of too much of confusion and ad hocism. See, what happened is that in the absence of a real regional plan, this ad hocism first started when the late Chief Minister, Mr. Manohar Parrikar, had said that, after the last regional plan was scrapped, they said that for any land to be either converted or a decision taken on the status of any land, you need to look at the proposed amendments in the proposed regional plan and match it against the previous regional plan.
Okay.
Now this exercise became absolutely humongous because you cannot keep pace with what is planned and what has been there in the plan so many years ago. Yeah. But at that point of time, albeit that this was supposed to be a temporary exercise till the new regional plan came into place.
Yeah.
Now this temporary exercise has been going on for over a decade. There's been really right now there is no proper plan that exists, which is why ad hocism rules the roost.
Yeah.
Amendments are made. We are basically running the state on the basis of ad hoc amendments from time to time.
Yeah.
And changes. Now this does not follow a proper pattern or an overall policy.
Yeah.
So hence, even now when the amendments, and I will take that also into account right now, we'll bring in what Edgar did and what even Vinayak Bharne has proposes to do.
Yeah.
I'll talk all about it holistically. It's just that right now the TCP minister, and one should be fair that he's taken a timely and a good decision to scrap the amendments to the Goa land and building construction rules.
Very true.
Which would have allowed, and of course that begs the question, why did he go in for these amendments in the first place?
Yeah.
Which would have allowed massive buildings, villas, complexes with an FAR of 400 into pristine rural areas with no control over these decisions in the hands of the local bodies.
Yeah.
Now this was a no-go. This could not have happened.
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that the minister understood this and backtracked is a very welcome decision. The minister should be praised for it.
Yeah.
However, what is very important is whether the government is clarifying that 16B will be scrapped through either an ordinance or through the assembly. Because if you only say that all the cases that are currently under 16B, those cases are going to be scrapped, whereas 16B will continue to remain, then that will again cast doubts in the minds of people. So that clarity has to happen whether the decision is to scrap 16B or to scrap the current number of cases that have been dealt with under the 16B, which would and again to the uninitiated, this particular section would allow people to apply for and get into land conversions, which is over and beyond the scope of what the earlier plans were. So we would put it in a nutshell. So it's so important to that. So therefore, when the TCP minister said that we would have a quote-unquote committee to look into the whole issue holistically, and we will look into the amendments, he picked one of the finest people he could have picked. It was like a rabbit out of the hat, Vinayak Barne. Now, Vinayak Barne is
to head the commission.
To head the committee, as it were. Vinayak Barne is he's a Goa boy, but moved to the US. He's one of the most respected architects and town planners internationally, not just in America. He's been called upon by different city governments in Europe as well to consult on city governance there. Now his approach is very different. He does not want to be a sarkari quote-unquote official sitting in a closed room and doing it. From whatever he has said, and look, he and Edgar Ribeiro are in consultation. So what I like the pattern which is being followed. Edgar Ribeiro at 92, he almost, he's almost got a second awakening of sorts, which is so good for Goa. He's just woken up to say that, look, this is going to be my last fight. And he shot off a letter. He went and gave that letter to the TCP. Saying that, look, you cannot just do ad hoc amendments, scrapping and all that. Planning has to be looked at holistically. You need to have a proper bottom-up approach. Goa needs to be planned again. You need to have a proper plan. The regional plan should be the regional plan has to be the foundation for everything else. That is the parent. Everything has to be conceived from that parent, that way. So, interestingly, when Vinayak Barne also kind of reached out to, once he saw that letter of Edgar's and he read it in the Herald, he reached out and said, look, I want to get in touch with Edgar. He got in touch with Edgar. Both of them consulted together, and Vinayak has come up with a very nice plan which we published in the Herald today on this whole. And he says, don't call us a committee. When you say committee, it always brings in this officialdom into the scenario. The vibe should not be officious. It should be people centric. And he says, don't call us a committee. Call us an informal group, and don't even call us experts, of people who want to work with the locals and those who know, and let this document which is being presented to the government finally, let it be co-authored by the people and the experts, quote unquote, and the professionals, let's put it this way. And so this has to be again a bottom-up approach and not a top-down approach.
Basically participative.
And he's also said that we will not do it in some committee room or in an air-conditioned hotel or office or wherever. I mean, our office has to be the streets. So, if what he says is to be taken on board, then I think it's a very welcome sign. It remains to be seen whether this gets the support of the entire government or not.
Okay. Moving on to 30th of September, in the page 1 anchor, there is this story of the Herald. On his 153rd death anniversary, freedom fighter Dr. Francisco Luis Gomes' ancestral home lies in ruins. Now, he's one of the celebrated Goans, yet very few people in the present dispensation would give him that prominence which he deserves, because he's one of the first persons who propounded this idea of national freedom for India much before the 1857 First War of Indian Independence.
What is interesting here is that Francis Louis Gomes died exactly 3 days before Gandhiji was born. He died on the 30th of September. Gandhi was born on the 2nd of October, exactly 3 days later. Same year. What is also important is Francis Louis Gomes spoke about national independence and independence from the British rule at a time when he was a Goan living
in Portuguese
Goa. And he always said that all civilizations deserve independence of this nature and absolute freedom. And he kept on propounding it. And of course, Herald religiously decides to take note of these contributions, and we do it. Even earlier, we did a story of his house in ruins, because we go back to his house in ruins because the dilapidated house is not the story. The significance of that, the state in which that house is a reflection of a larger neglect towards somebody of his stature. So the house is symbolic of the overall neglect, not towards him, his family, or it's not about monetary compensation, is nothing. But the neglect is there in the minds and the hearts. If you cannot remember a person who was so far-sighted and who spoke about the need and importance of freedom way back in the 1850s, almost a century before India actually got freedom, shows the kind of foresight and the vision he had. At the same time, when he became a member of the parliament in Portugal, he was one of the strongest defenders of the country. Country meaning in that sense not Portugal. He was very strongest defender of Portuguese India, but he was also one of a very strong defenders of India as a whole. And the fact that India needed that kind of independence. So my point is, he even used an international platform like the Portuguese Parliament to propound the cause of India's freedom. So my issue is, why can't our leaders of today recognize this? All you do is, one doesn't want riches, one doesn't want anything else. One just wants acknowledgement. Because if you very rightly can name a road after a freedom fighter from Punjab who was martyred in Goa, and that should be done. There's no complaint about that. But if that is done, and it's a very good gesture, it should be done, that the Mopa road is named after Beniwal, no problem. But the question that we ask is that, does Francis Louis Gomes deserve less? That's all we say. That we just give it and recognize this as much as you recognize this. That's all we say.
So on September 30th, on page 3, we pick up another story which has a lot of repercussions, especially in the wake of flexing of muscles against previous initiatives. The CM promises to start app-based taxis which could be linked to the multi-modular mobility plan for Mopa.
See, the Chief Minister has very rightly said that there is no going back on the issue of app-based taxis. So right now, both the CM and the Transport Minister are on the same page and they're firm on this. We only need to figure out the modalities as to how they are bringing it in. Because it is unlikely, and there is no certainty on it. This is just a thought that the model followed by Uber and Ola is not a model that might work too well in Goa. The reason being is that this model is not working well in other states also. The model very simply is that the customer pays. It's very customer friendly. There's no doubt about it. The customer pays on the particular app, and the app company in turn remits that amount after deducting their commission to the driver,
to the operator.
So in a particular ride, if the cost of the ride is if the ride is billed at say 200 rupees, then the driver ends up getting roughly about 140 rupees. It's a ballpark figure. I mean, let's not get into the exact specifics of the figures, but around that's the ratio in which the distribution is done. And here all the drivers want the ready cash to happen immediately. Now, for convenience sake, you cannot say that we'll have the cash only option, because that defeats the purpose. In an app-based taxi, you can have the cash option or you can have the prepaid option. But anyway, these are nitty-gritties. The important part is that app-based taxis are a reality which will happen irrespective of any kind of opposition, because people who are opposing app-based taxis very honestly are running out of excuses. Let's be very clear on this. It has to happen. But at the same time, It has to happen by taking the locals into confidence and involving the local taxi fleet should be part of an app-based taxi service. We do not need to, nor is there any necessity to get an outside agency to get their own cars or drivers or whatever you have enough vehicles here, enough drivers here for them to latch on or get themselves attached to a new app-based system.
But this option of
one sec. Speaking about I missed out that question of yours on the whole comprehensive mobility. We are given to understand that this app-based taxi service will first be kind of tested as a trial on a trial basis at the new Mopa airport whenever services start. So it will first be available in the Mopa airport because that's where it's likely to be used the most for people to come in here. Once all the highways are built and somebody traveling from say Mopa to say Kavelosi, it's a 2-hour journey. So there I think the app-based taxis will come in handy because you cannot have the current tourist taxis ferrying people from Mopa to say Kavelosi or even Agonda or Palolem. I mean, a one-way ride will cost about $5,000.
It's like going to Bombay.
So so you can't have these kind of systems. But in a way, this is the need of the hour right now, and there should be no going back.
Okay. Now, one of the dominating stories of the previous week has to do with drugs, and it has a thread in the previous week's headlines also. On 30th of September, we have this front page story in the Herald. Bolivian woman carrying black cocaine, something new to the parlance of drugs in Goa, bound for Goa, arrested at Mumbai airport. And there is a series of articles on 1st October. Herald has outlined how the Operation Black Cocaine exactly took place, where NCP's 3-day operation hailed as a major international drug syndicate with footprints in Goa revealed. And also there is another story which we will take up thereafter. But the black cocaine is something which is new to the common man in Goa, and to look at when the police in Goa were trying to downplay this business of drugs in Goa, that Goa is a victim of drugs rather than a supply point. Now this is exposed that Goa is part of an international racket.
Very much so. Operation Black Cocaine has given us a lot of pointers. Firstly, why is it called black cocaine? It is nothing but cocaine mixed with certain substances to change the color to conceal the fact that cocaine is being smuggled in. See, when you're bringing that drug from, say, in this particular case, it came from Brazil to Ethiopia, and from Ethiopia to Bombay and Bombay to Goa. That was the route. So they were flying, and it was coming from Sao Paulo in Brazil to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to Bombay to Goa. That was the route. Now, if you see on two things. One, let us look at the substance itself. Now, if you're carrying the regular cocaine and concealing it, it is far more easier for the white powdered colored cocaine to be detected, because when a drug agency is monitoring any consignment of supplies, they will immediately look at a white substance and be suspicious. However, if you have black cocaine, which means you're either mixing it with asphalt or any of these substances, if it's black cocaine, then it's very easy to conceal it in boxes. See, most of the time they bring it in boxes where you have false bottoms. And they put it there. So in a black bag, if you have a false black bottom bag and you're putting the drug there, and if it's black in color, it's a little more difficult or a lot more difficult to get it. Number one. Number two, the choice of bringing in black cocaine to India is actually a very new one. Very rarely, if at all, has there been any seizure where black cocaine has been picked up, which means this has already started in the international market. So we hear. So for the NCB to be suspicious, without even understanding whether it's going to be black or white, and then zeroing in on a black cocaine substance is commendable on the part of the NCB. They did very good work. The intelligence network was very good. They were tipped off at the right time. So they were keeping a watch. So hats off to their operation. I am more concerned about the fact that Goa was the final destination. It means two things. That Goa has become a very, very big hub for drugs. And when I say hub, it means everything happens. It is a destination for consumption. It is a destination for local distribution. It is a destination for repackaging and remixing. So it is also a laboratory. It's a manufacturing institution.
Absolutely shocking.
Okay. Fourthly, it is also a supply destination. Because if you look at what has happened in Hyderabad, why has Hyderabad police got into it?
Yeah.
Hyderabad police has got into it because they made 3 significant arrests of 3 people. All of them had Goa links, but they did not arrest them from Goa.
Yeah.
Okay. They arrested one Nigerian called Osigwe Ajamai. I'm not very sure of the name. Pronunciations are difficult. But his name started with O. That was his original name. He came on a fake passport with a name which had A in it and not O. I mean, it was a different name. He had based himself in Goa.
Okay.
Then there was another person who was involved in running the dark net or the dark web,
Yeah.
where he was involved in the trade of narcotics through the dark web,
Okay.
where the purchases were made in cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, his surname is Arya, if I'm not mistaken. He was the main kingpin to operate the entire dark web, which means the buying and selling of. It was basically the Amazon or Flipkart of the drug business.
Okay.
Okay, and incidentally, he was operating through a legitimate app. He was not operating out of an illegal app. But that particular app is now being used so much for drugs and other things that it's being seen as an app only for that business. Now, he has also been picked up by the Hyderabad police. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, they realized that his base was Goa.
Okay.
Third is Pritesh Narayan Borkar. Pritesh Narayan Borkar is a Goa-based drug dealer.
Yeah.
Okay. Pritesh Narayan Borkar was basically operating in Bangalore and Hyderabad, selling drugs to peddlers in the Osmania University area.
Okay.
On his interrogation, Pritesh Borkar took 6 names,
Yeah.
out of which Steve was one name and Edwin was another name.
Yeah.
Steve has been arrested, Edwin is being hunted.
Large. Yeah.
But so that's why you see how deep the Goa connection is also when it comes to the national market, national drug centers. There is a Goa connection in Bangalore. There's a Goa connection in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
There is a Goa connection probably in Maharashtra as well. For all you know, this is what is alarming to all of us.
Okay. Still on the subject of drugs, there is a story on 2nd October, which is Gandhi Jayanti, unfortunately. Men of substance. Pedne cops suspended for taking protection money from UK drug dealer.
Yes, there's this UK drug dealer. He's a 76-year-old convicted pedophile in the UK.
Yeah.
He's been living here. His visa has expired. His visa has expired for over 15 years. This man continues to stay in Goa.
Uh-huh.
He is involved in all kinds of activities, so we hear, allegedly.
Yeah.
At the same time, he was caught with drugs worth 15 odd lakhs. My point is, what is going on? You have somebody who is on without any papers. He shouldn't be here. He's moving on freely, not deported.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, he is being caught with drugs. Thirdly, when he's caught with drugs, one head constable and one constable land up there, and a deal is struck where protection money is offered and taken. Now, after the protection money is offered and taken, the anti-narcotic cell goes and catches him. When he gets caught, he turns around and says, "But I've already paid the money." So he raises literally like a consumer grievance complaint that I've already paid for a service of protection. Why am I not getting the service? So he complained, and not only that, he comes to the police station to lodge a criminal comes to the police station to lodge a complaint against these officers, saying, "Why are they not? Why am I exposed? Why am I here? I've already paid for my safety."
Protection money.
Number one. This man also writes to his embassy. He's illegally staying here, but he has writes to his embassy. Tells his embassy that, "Look, I'm a British citizen. I'm getting harassed because I've paid for my protection. I'm not getting it." Now we hear. I mean, it's a dark comedy. It's funny, but it's so sad. Then we hear that the British authorities informally, I don't think they would have made a formal communication to the Goa police saying, "Look, this is a complaint that we get, please look into it." It is only then that the SP North Goa and the DYSP, who are good officers we hear, are turned around and actually went and tried and caught them. Then the whole Pandora's box was opened, and then it gets funnier than this, and I'll end with this. Then the senior officer said, "Okay, we'll have an identification parade." Normally the police doesn't. The police gets somebody to do an identification parade of a criminal. Here, an identification parade was being done of a police officer.
The police officer.
Police cops. So the drug dealer came to identify whether which police officer had taken the bribe from him.
Yeah.
These guys had shaved off their mustaches and cut their hair in such a way that they could not be identified, but they still got identified. No, everybody can laugh and laugh and laugh about this, but what is happening to the state of Goa with this?
Yeah.
There is no seriousness.
On October 2nd itself, on page 3, and this news is of interest to a large section of Goan, government sets yet another deadline, that is November 2023, to start iron ore mining. Now, Chief Minister said that it will take at least 1 year post auctioning of the iron ore leases to the successful bidder to start mining operations. Now, this is long pending. After mining operations were suspended in Goa, dates after dates have been given by various governments that mining will restart, and very often the mining belt has been used as a vote bank even in elections.
Absolutely, you said it. I mean, I can just repeat what you said. That is exactly what the case is, because all these dates are given not because there is any seriousness about these dates. These dates are always given as election promises and sops. But what is important here is that people are seeing through it. The Goa Mining People's Front and other people know that these are dates just thrown to give some hope, false hope. Practically speaking, as we all know, you cannot start these mining leases unless environmental clearance is done.
Yeah.
And the whole process of getting the EC with public hearings, discussions, objections being taken on board, notices being issued, it's a long drawn out process. We should not even expect mining to start for at least 1 year from now. There are many other issues that we can talk about later, but even the manner in which the mining plan has been laid down by the court, if it has to be done, then all these processes will definitely take over.
And this November 2023 is close to the Lok Sabha elections of
Absolutely, you
2024.
can see this whole pattern. November 23 will be months away from, unless they can even advance the Lok Sabha elections by about 4-5 months. That's also possible.
Yeah.
So it can be bang in the middle of elections also.
Okay. And then the last story which we take up for today is dated October 4th, that is the day we are shooting this episode. A month later, head of Land Grab Commission still to sit on his chair. Paperwork has just begun, but the work hasn't, and retired High Court Judge V.K. Jadhav has not yet been briefed, and all the preparations are going on to appoint him, and he has to be briefed about the land grab cases, and the complexity is more important.
The Commission of Inquiry will look into a much broader issue of the people involved, the process. Why were there not checks and balances? How did a scam of this nature happen without the system knowing about it?
Okay.
So they will look into and this is far more important. Because the SIT will catch maybe the 50 odd culprits or the 60 odd culprits. And they'll do a case by case investigation.
Yeah.
They will investigate the rot that has set into the system and the systematic changes, and that is, I feel, is a far more important job.
Yeah.
Now, there can be an argument saying these things take time, but my point is there can also be a counter argument asking why do these things take time.
Yeah.
It does not take a month. You can all you need is to organize an office, put a person there, get the staff. This can be done in 7 to 10 days if you really make it a priority.
Yeah.
The idea, the more time you lose, the more difficult it becomes for any commission of inquiry to look at this.
Yeah.
So which is why this is, and when things are so bureaucratic, a file is moved, his biodata or service record is done, then it's analyzed by a string of committees. These processes can be shortened.
Yeah, this is
then
in
you're
this
looking
day and age.
You can't, and then you're looking at his remuneration. That can be decided in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You decide on a remuneration, sit on a meeting, decide in half an hour, you have a discussion, you agree, you start. He doesn't agree, look for another person. I mean, my point is, this can be done in a robust, proper manner, which means I don't put this down to incompetence at all. I put this down to a lack of motive to do the right thing fast enough.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the role which has been assigned to Mr. V.K. Jadhav, when he takes up, is he has to submit a report within 4 months of the date of his first sitting.
Correct.
Now, do you think that this time frame would be enough to, because now this I mean, I don't know if all the cases have come within the purview of the SIT at present, but looking at this commission, I mean, do you think that 4 months is
far
reasonable?
too short? Because see, what happens is in about 4 months, you'll basically start getting the hang of things. See, because you must remember that there are no rocket scientists here. Everybody is everybody in that commission will be looking into it afresh and learning as they go along.
Yeah.
It'll take about at least a month or two for them to settle down, collate the cases. So 4 months is too short a time for this to happen.
Okay. This is all the stories that we have for the past week, which we underline as headlines featured in the Voice of Goa Herald. We hope that you enjoyed this edition of the week that was. I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta, Group Editor of Herald Publications, for his insights and analysis. We hope that you are back with us next week. Keep watching Herald TV.